have a foster kid go missing who's been living with you for a year and a half. She ended up being trafficked in Seattle.
It's horrible.
And gone for about 6 weeks. I used what I know how to do to find where she was. She answered the phone. I called a local precinct, and they did a health and welfare, and she was at Children's Hospital within 2 hours.
I'm Shawnee Delaney. I spent years undercover as a Defense Intelligence Agency case officer.
And I'm Tyler Gray. I served as a U.S. Army Ranger sniper, as well as an assaulter in an elite Tier 1 counterterrorism unit. This is Control Room.
Welcome to Control Room. Today we have someone I've known for years now, I think. Yeah, Bryan Seely, cybersecurity expert, ethical hacker, and former Marine. Bryan has a very unique story and claim to fame, if you will. And I would love, Bryan, if you would kind of open up telling us about what makes you famous. Why is that name so well known in the cyber community?
I think it's because I don't shut up very often, but about 10 years ago, I wiretapped the Secret Service and the FBI without permission, which is, don't do that, whatever.
Little disclaimer at the bottom.
Whichever camera's on.
It got you here.
I guess I failed up for that one. I shouldn't be here because it's one of those don't do that type things. Without permission it was very risky. The whole goal was to solve a problem.
Well, what was the problem you were trying to solve?
Google Maps, Bing Maps, any of these directories, people are scamming other people. And instead of having a real business location, they would set up like a UPS store, or mailbox, et cetera, or whatever. And they'd set up 100 locations all across the city. And then have all those phone numbers forwarding to their cell phone. Sounds fine. It sounds like a clever way to expand your reach of your locksmith business or whatever, but there are people who use it for purely scamming people, showing up and robbing them at gunpoint or making them take money out of an ATM. And Google's the biggest player in the mapping space. They're the best at it, period. So it's not like they're a target for a reason. It's because more people use it. Bing Maps, for example, has more locksmiths in Redmond, Washington than there are actual locksmiths in Washington state.
Sorry, how did you find out about this scam? What got you interested in this in the first place?
Oh, I had worked for somebody prior to that who was building locations, kind of like an SEO job. Mm-hmm. And this is right after the financial bubble and way back 2007, 2008. And jobs were hard to find. And I was new in my career and just out of the Marines. I figured I'd do data entry and the money was good. And all of a sudden I started realizing I'm building locations that are actually fake. And writing reviews or copying and pasting stuff that isn't actually real. So quit the job, I found my way into server and networking stuff and took a boot camp and came back to it years later. I was bored at home and I'd just gotten diagnosed with ADHD and just gotten divorced, so I had a lot of time on my hands. And I went back and looked and it's worse. So things were actually way worse several years later and I thought they were gonna get fixed. So I started building funny businesses on Google Maps to try to make a point, have some sort of attention drawn to it. And the exploit was I could put businesses anywhere I wanted, pretty much anywhere in the world. And at the time, it was a matter of registering an official business and then moving it and then changing phone numbers and changing addresses and moving it again, because you could do little tricks like that to verify your address with a postcard and there's all these little formalities. But if you changed it after the fact, it didn't matter. You could actually move something all the way across the country onto the White House lawn, for example, and it would be listed.
And you did that?
A couple of times.
You moved someone to the White House lawn?
Edward Snowden.
Yes.
His super secret hiding place, and then I used a Zoolander reference for a photo.
So describe it. Tyler hasn't seen it.
Well, I'm very familiar with Zoolander, so...
It was modeled after him,
that face,
actually.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The Derek Zoolander thing.
So, and for those that don't know, Edward Snowden is...
He could be a bad guy, he could be a good guy, depending on who you are. He released a whole bunch of information while working for the NSA, and then fled to a country and then ended up in Russia, and is now living in Russia permanently, I'm guessing.
Indefinitely,
Duh.
yeah.
So one thing I have to ask is how, I heard everything you said. What's the transition from that to the wiretapping of the Secret Service and the FBI?
poor choices.
Boredom?
Boredom? No, it was more like
They're two separate things, though, is what I'm saying, correct?
people are scamming other people, so that's a money-focused thing.
Yeah.
The only thing after money is influence or secrets, as far as I could tell. So my thought was I could duplicate or spoof a law firm or a possible, like a congressman, and any incoming call that they have through Google Maps, and it's not being routed through Google Maps, that's just where you're getting the phone number. And this kind of plays into how it actually worked, but if you look on your phone at any business, they're not showing you the phone number usually when you get the business pulled up. They're showing you a call button and like directions and share, but the phone number's too long. So it just has a little phone icon and it says phone. You call them. And then the phone comes up and it says ringing on your phone. You've already put it up to your head. You're not going to notice that the area code's wrong. So the business listings I built were like 425 area codes. One was in San Francisco at the exact spot for the FBI, because I was watching The Rock with Nick Cage.
Classic,
and they were in
classic
right?
movie. Yeah.
James Bond reference, the whole thing. It's awesome. Sean Connery,
He's the best, by the way.
the best.
Yep.
And then, I mean, unilaterally, everyone agrees. Then the Secret Service, there was a field office in DC on like 6th Street or something. And I built duplicates and flagged the originals as like 50 different people with VPNs and IP changing and took them down. So the originals went away and the ones that I created, they looked authentic enough. The websites were right, but no one's, if they're going to check on the website, I can't do anything with that. The way a scam kind of works is you have an expected result. If your expected result is you call a number and you get someone who says FBI or Secret Service, you don't even notice anything's wrong. No red flags pop up. Well, I used a phone service that allowed me to record quality assurance related calls, but it doesn't have to put that announcement in there. That's like a manual setting. So every call that came in, and there was like 40, I listened to 2 of them before I realized I was an idiot. Oh, no. I mean, I knew I was an idiot before that, but this is more evidence. And the first call was a lady calling to talk to the Inspector General at the Secret Service, and they don't have one. And then another person was an on-duty police officer calling about a currency investigation. And then I stopped listening and realized, like, oh, crap. And then I called my friends who were in the Marines with me. 2 worked for the FBI. After they got done yelling at me, they told me to call the FBI and then talk to the Secret Service. And the FBI hung up on me.
They didn't believe you?
No, not even a little bit.
Maybe, do you think they understood what you were saying?
Oh, yeah, they spoke English well enough to...
No, but I mean, like, as you described it to them, hey, I did this, I spoofed, I made it,
At some point from using Google Maps and I wiretapped calls, they went to, this guy's a tinfoil hat, crazy person. And yes, poor judgment, crazy maybe, but I walked into the Secret Service office a couple hours later, and they didn't believe me either. They had a printout of Edward Snowden's super secret hiding place, like an MSNBC article. Someone had printed out going, is this you? Like, yeah, that was me. And I said, I can prove it in less than 5 minutes. All you have to do is call the DC office of the Secret Service from your phone. And this is kind of what I figured out magicians try to set up is you give them an expected result. You give him a result he's trying to achieve, knowing what he's probably going to do. If it doesn't work, you don't see that footage on YouTube. If it does work, everybody's amazed.
Yeah.
So what he ends up doing is pulls his phone out, taps on it, and he calls and he's like, yep, this is Agent so-and-so. Yeah, no, I'm just checking something out, something about phones. Yeah, no, all right, cool, thanks, man. It's a small agency. He knows the guy by voice recognition. I mean, it couldn't have been me. This is well before deepfakes. He knows exactly who he spoke to. He had used some source, which turns out it's Google, to find that phone number, because no agent is saving headquarters phone numbers in there.
Nobody knows anybody's phone numbers nowadays. They're in your phone.
We use Google. Mm-hmm. We use it as a verb, a noun, all sorts of different things. So he used Google Maps typed in Secret Service, Washington, D.C., something like that, and gets a guy he knows. Hangs up, and my phone got a notification. You've received a new marketing call to Campaign Secret Service. Would you like to listen to that call to check for quality? Yes, I would. So I got push play and then push speaker, and we hear it ringing, and you hear the guy going, Secret Service. And it's that super deep, cool air traffic controller pilot voice. And then we hear the whole conversation. So the 3 agents and me, 2 of which are new to this call.
You've just blown their minds.
They lost their sense of humor. And then I lost all my stuff. And I got to put my hands up against the wall and spread feet. And then they take your stuff. And then they gave me a Miranda rights form saying, this is your rights. You're not being arrested. You're not being detained. We're just asking you to come back to the guest suite where we can just figure out a little bit more about this.
So how long, they took you into custody, essentially? Like unofficially, I guess?
Sure.
How long were you there?
4 hours.
And then what happened?
I had to show them how it was done over and over and over. Building a listing from scratch, creating one, moving it, putting a photo down, watching it show up in the top 10 results. I built a daycare center in Seattle that ranked number 3 in about 15 minutes.
Oh.
And they're like, well, what's the significance of that? I'm like, well, I could hire someone on Craigslist to be a daycare manager or daycare worker and pay them in Bitcoin or cash. Send them to an address that I rent on a house that no one has my ID, no one knows any of my banking information, do it all digitally. You drop your kids off, it's full of toys and joy and everyone's awesome, and then I relieve the workers for lunch and empty the house. And what are you gonna do? You're gonna go back to Google and now the listing's gone. This is the reality that people are facing when they call a locksmith to go on vacation and change their locks and they come back and their stuff's gone. The locksmith ad's missing and there's no accountability. So kids are obviously worse than stuff, but that was the idea.
So I assume this has gotten better. Has it gotten better or has it gotten worse?
To some degree, there are more regulations and it takes a lot of effort to get a business into the locksmith space or other really heavily exploited ones on Google. And Bing Maps is a nightmare. Like Yahoo isn't a thing anymore. Yellow Pages and White Pages have some form of it, but Google's the place where everyone goes. So they've got their work cut out for them. People are still doing this kind of thing and finding ways around it. They know that there's a way to scam people, and it's better than doing a legitimate business.
I'm a little curious though, when you tell the story and you talk about, number one, you just kind of figured it out. I mean, you were bored and you had a point to prove, and you literally just figured it out. It makes me think when we're talking about scammers and fraudsters and just bad people, that it's pretty easy to just figure out how to do any myriad of scams.
Yeah, it's
right?
even easier now. You can go on YouTube and get a college education. You could learn, depending on what your motivation is. If your motivation is to catch criminals or be a criminal, you've got enough stuff to be able to research. So it's the difference between picking up a metal detector and walking the beaches knowing you're going to find something or going, I'm not going to find anything. Well, there are people doing it every day. There's people magnet fishing in a single spot, finding all sorts of crazy stuff in rivers. It's effort. It's figuring out that just because you're one person doesn't mean you're not right, that there is an exploit to be found in a company that's 20, 30, 50,000 people. People may make mistakes, and it's looking for that needle in a haystack that results in bug bounties. That's why we have that whole program, is people are specialists. And if you don't give up and you keep learning and following like the next indicated step of, I need to learn Python and then I need to go learn PHP and MySQL to be able to do WordPress or find exploit, because there are hackers who have no clue what they're doing on hardware or vice versa. And everyone has a specialty. I am not the best hacker in any category. But there are amazing hackers who specialize in all these little things, and you put them together and then people organize. There's all sorts of ways it can go.
So I'm curious though, what you're talking about, what the scammers can do by digging in, they need to know your address, maybe your parents' phone numbers or
starting
things like
point.
that. How easy is it to get that information?
Way too easy. So if you're in the UK and Europe, there's laws that allow you to like wipe your stuff from the internet, privacy laws. The US is not quite as friendly for the consumer. It's more pro-business. That's fine. But you can request removal of your information, but you have to know where that stuff is.
I learned, I didn't even know about that until I went through the LifeLock app, and it's like, hey, do you want to take your stuff off of databases? I'm like, yes, I do.
In almost all cases, yes.
Yes, but I was amazed at when I went through the app to those places, how much data they had. It was amazing.
A client of mine, the daughter of a celebrity, she's a stand-up comic, was dealing with a stalker who's made death threats. I think she had a shot fired at her when she was standing outside of the Comedy Store in LA, and her address information hadn't been scrubbed at all. Most celebrities, at some point when they hit a big like network show or movie, their agent or manager, whoever it is, hires someone to scrub their information. Because otherwise you end up with Jennifer Lawrence or that kind of situation where somebody's like organically moved up over time and someone else thought someone else was going to do it, but no one did. And now their penthouse apartment's listed on everything. And all it takes is one bored person without the same ethics. They might not think that they're a bad person, but they're like, well, I'm going to look up and see what her address is. And it's like Madison Avenue, boom. All right, now I know what that is. And then you look for that address, and then you look for email addresses associated with it and names and who else lived there. And you're trying to gather as much, the NSA and CIA and everyone does the same sort of thing, is information gathering, even if it doesn't look relevant. And then put it all together and try to make sense of it.
And can you talk about that case at all? I mean, keep it anonymized, obviously, but you're talking about the celebrity comedian. How did you kind of unravel that? What did you do?
Really, it's just the fundamentals of removing her information from as many places as possible. LifeLock offers that great. It's a perfect solution for doing that, getting like white pages and Intellius and Zava Search and 411 and every directory.
People Finder.
There's like 200 and some main ones.
Yeah.
Most of them get information syndicated from like 4 or 5 of the biggest ones.
I'm curious, like when you did that with this client and you're removing the information, do you do kind of a cyber hygiene scrub? Are you seeing like, are their passwords good? There
are websites to find whether their password or email address was in a breach. There's all sorts of breaches that happen often, and people collect all that information because if the good guys know what passwords have been used and can tell people, hey, you need to change it. The bad guys are also collecting them and trying those.
So you clearly have hacked government organizations and caused a little trouble. Have you ever done this to just everyday people, teaching lessons?
I guess the intent part matters. So it wasn't hacking an individual per se, but so I was on a plane coming back from Rochester, New York, and we got stuck because it was like 2 hours of a wait to de-ice the plane, and it was the middle of the winter, not when you want to be in Rochester. And I was sitting there on my phone, and I searched a website like Dehashed for a comedian that I had liked who was blowing up, and found some information, and ended up finding out that all of his family members also had the same passwords, so presumably he set up.
Did you say that his whole family had the same passwords?
On a lot of accounts. A lot of email accounts had similar passwords.
Interesting.
So instead of going like directly to the person who I was a huge fan of, I contacted someone in his family who's also on Twitter saying, hey, because I've done this before where I've tried to report a breach or report a huge vulnerability and companies decide that they're going to try and crucify you or accuse you of hacking to save their own face, and ended up being written up by, Brian Krebs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Worked with him on a number of occasions, and he's great. And he ended up reporting these stories because one company decided to try to throw me under the bus in the Washington Post. Didn't work, but they're like, we think this guy hacked and illegally accessed our stuff. I'm like, no, I left voicemails on every single one of your phones telling you have a huge problem. Like a severity 9.9 out of 10, still nothing.
But what you're doing, you're not hacking for bad.
Right.
You are an ethical hacker.
At this point, I'm just notifying somebody.
Yeah.
Right. the intent matters. Like, what's my intent? Is it to get something out of it? No, it was just, hey, you're vulnerable. I could spend every waking moment of my life contacting people, telling them they're vulnerable. But if you start with people who are actually vulnerable and have money to be stolen, like no one's coming after my credit. I have single-digit credit. Like that's insane. But if somebody's going after what they call a whale or in whaling instead of fishing, it's somebody who has a lot to lose and who might not know all the things they have, 401k, savings, mutual funds, Bitcoin, and it's usually Bitcoin is what people are going for. So I contacted this person, and going the most ethically that I can think of is getting a hold of his manager, saying he's got the same passwords. His password is, instead of telling him what it was exactly, was a code using insider knowledge, I guess, of me actually liking this person, and then using the other comedian's daughter as verification. Be like, I know this person, they can vouch for me. And ended up making it all the way back to the comedian. They changed passwords, did a whole hygiene thing, and I ended up getting backstage passes to a show, photos, getting to meet, and that was a huge bonus, but that wasn't the goal because they didn't ask for a service. They got approached anonymously, and they shouldn't be required to pay anything at that point because that's just like, it's like a hostage situation at that point.
Yeah, but that's hard. Like, we're talking about scams and all these random approaches from people, and here you are coming out and saying, you know, I can hack you, I know all this stuff. I think most people might think, well, it's a scam, I'm gonna ignore it.
Right.
How are you able to get your message across? I mean, clearly the first time didn't work so well, they didn't listen to you.
I think it comes across instead of dumping all the information up front, it's like, hey, I'm a huge fan of, Stephen Colbert. And I found some stuff that I think is damaging, that he wouldn't want out there. I'm not asking for anything. This isn't blackmail. You can just come out and say, I'm not doing this to try to get money out of you guys. I want to help them solve this problem and give them a little bit of information. Hey, you can call me here. And you need some bona fides. You need to find a way to prove who you are so they know who they're talking to. If you don't know who you're talking to, that's scary.
Yeah. I think one of the common threads that I'm seeing here is A, the difference between hackers and getting over that kind of stereotype, but B, that there are hackers out there that are using their skills for good.
Yes.
To help people. You are trying to educate audiences. I mean, you've been on a number of news shows and you do keynotes and things like that. I think probably the most difficult audience is our own kids. Personally, maybe it's just mine.
No.
But you have messaging. How do you get your message across to the different audiences?
Trying to get anything to a teenager is tough. I have a great teenager. I have a son who's 10. I should probably learn their names. They are both very savvy, problem solving. And in that problem solving mentality, I notice it more in my son where it's click through the boring stuff, which means accepting permissions for an install of a program that he shouldn't have, which then installs some toolbar or other app that we didn't want on there.
It's just so much more complicated for kids now.
It start with the basics of don't share your location, real name. You don't have to give them a fake identity. He doesn't need a cover story or like.
What's the fun in that?
Yeah, I was about to say, that sounds kind of fun if I was a kid.
I'm happy if he remembers to brush his teeth. He doesn't need to remember he's Fred from Omaha.
Yeah, that's a problem. So what are the steps? So, I mean, you can give steps, 1 through 5, what people should do, but what do you do to protect your family?
I have everything kind of backed up that I can restore that, and that's more advanced, like, I guess, client install stuff or administration stuff.
So you mean you've made copies of things and put them on maybe the cloud and a hard drive?
Correct.
Yes.
Multiple places where you have everything's backed up.
Yep.
I usually have 3 or 4. Actually, it's more than that, but I'm obsessive sometimes.
We call that a hoarder, Bryan.
We call it good fundamentals. I can't talk about backup and restore policies and then not have good fundamentals. But yeah, I don't like losing stuff.
All right, what else? What else do you do?
I guess depending on the age. So teenager gets more stuff. Like you're going to get lots of weird text messages. They're not for you. They're for your phone number. That's what they're going for.
That's a good. We should get a T-shirt.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
They're not. It's not for you. It's for your phone number.
You don't have to answer everything that someone sends you on a phone. The only reason they're sending it to your phone is they know you're looking at it. It's the eyeballs and your attention is what they want. You need to choose what you're going to give your attention to, and whether you're doing it actively or not is a choice.
One thing that I've noticed doing this podcast, a common theme between all the guests we've had, is this fundamental just need to help people. That everyone's had it, and can you name a time where you use your skills to help someone directly?
Good choice of words. I guess I got into IT, and I did like helping people, but it wasn't my primary goal when I first got into it. That came later, and I guess it married up with the whole hacker mentality of like solve the problem no matter what. And that's another Marine thing, and I'm sure the Army teaches other stuff like that as well. Like Delta Force is known for being badasses. It's not the Girl Scouts. Adapt, improvise, overcome.
100%. Yeah.
Mission accomplishment, no matter what, get it done. And that is, people will come up with a reason to go to bed early. Oh, I don't need to finish it now. Because the end goal isn't like some amazing thing. It's like, get this podcast episode out or build the website. Okay, yeah, that's a goal, but it's not life or death.
No one's going to die, yeah.
Until you have a foster kid go missing who's been living with you for a year and a half, a stepdaughter of mine. And my other kids were little, like 1 and 7. So I had 3 kids at the time, 16, 7, and 1. And when teenagers are exposed to drugs and other illicit behaviors all over the place, like the way into that lifestyle it could be one of 50 different ways. You could owe money to somebody, they have something on you, you could want drugs, and she ended up being trafficked in Seattle.
It's horrible.
And gone for about 6 weeks. I used what I know how to do to find where she was. The FBI was also looking for her. Local police was looking for her. And if you're under 18, you are considered a commercially exploited minor if someone is advertising you online, which they were using, at the time, Backpage.
So you actually found an advertisement?
Many.
Wow.
And at the time, it was different phone numbers and looking at the text in each ad and a few different photos that didn't show enough to be illegal, but enough to be recognizable, and then going, okay, this text matches up with this text. This person always signs out with this. They don't use periods. They don't use commas, or they do. Phone numbers match. There's collecting all the data. We talked about collecting as much data as we possibly could. I had a list of numbers. I had a list of common phrases. And then Backpage got shut down federally because this was happening to multiple kids all over the country. People were buying ads with credit cards and exploiting minors. So that got shut down. That's amazing. That's a huge step. But she was still missing. So eventually, she had called someone from a phone number that was blocked, and then the next time it wasn't blocked. And they remembered to write it down. She was asking for money for cigarettes or something. Take that phone number, track it to a business. It was like a towing company, an expired business license. Found out the address it was associated with. It was transferred to a residential address a few years prior. And at 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday, I went to the front of the house and realized I don't have a pretext. I don't have a reason to knock on this door in the middle of the night.
You're alone.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
And
so you have a history of making bad
poor
decisions.
choices.
I gotcha. Okay, that's fair.
I wasn't going to say it.
That's fair. You're in good company.
this is just my professional
you're in
career.
good company.
My personal life's even worse. So then I needed a reason to call her back on the number to see if she's still there. But my voice isn't going to be the person that she's expecting or the person she's with is expecting. So I called my babysitter, who was watching my other kids, said, hey, you need to call this number and ask for Jane Doe. And so she did, knowing that if she got a guy, ask for the girl, and if she got the girl, hang up. She did. She messaged me on Facebook Messenger and said she answered the phone. I called the local precinct, and they did a health and welfare, and she was at Children's Hospital within 2 hours.
Amazing.
How did you know she was there if she answered the phone?
Because it was a landline.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know that.
You can go online and figure out whether something's in the cell phone spectrum of a number.
That makes sense.
And knowing it was a landline, and that was proximity-based, and I could also hear it ringing when it was called.
That's something that we haven't really talked a lot about is OSINT. You'd mentioned open source intelligence. Can you describe what OSINT is, how people use it, both for bad and for good?
I mean, it's the same stuff that you would use to stalk someone or find out information that's publicly available. Open source means it's not a proprietary costing thing. It's freely available information. It's like guessing your first dot last name at Gmail, Yahoo, iCloud, or take the dot out. So you can build a spreadsheet and first initial last name, first name, last name, first name, combinations of every possible thing you've ever seen. I could probably guess your email address pretty quickly if you followed any of those. That's open source techniques.
And can I add, well, social media also is a gold mine, but something that you just reminded me of is recovery email. You know, when you click, like you're trying to guess somebody's email, for example, and you know their phone number, which is available everywhere easily, you have usually the last 3 or 4 digits as a recovery, and you can see that verifies that is actually their email address if you know their phone number.
Right, and if you're not sure that the information you've gathered, is this their phone number, but the recovery confirms it. Sarah Palin's email got hacked during her time campaigning, and they had just answered 3 basic questions: high school mascot, favorite color, stuff that she had said in video, and they hacked into her email. Some kid. I mean, kids aren't as persistent normally as adults, and they're going to get bored very quickly. So the kid probably figured it out in about 5 minutes.
I'm going to say something that I don't think we've mentioned on this series yet that I just thought of, and so I'm going to put it out there. Don't ever, obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but don't ever use your mother's actual maiden name for when they ask for your mother's maiden name.
If you haven't already, don't. Yeah.
All right, Bryan. Little challenge. I don't know if you can handle this, but we like to play a little game with our guests and kind of do a rapid fire series of questions. Are you in?
I'm in.
All right.
Yeah. Rapid fire meaning short answer. They're like first thought that comes to your mind.
I feel like
actually for
We're
you,
in trouble. Actually, maybe not. I don't think.
Maybe not the first, maybe the second for you, but we'll do our best.
I've trained myself to say the third thing. Yeah, go ahead.
The third thing. What's the craziest hack you've ever pulled off?
Either finding my own kid or wiretapping the Secret Service for sure.
Yeah, I agree. What's scarier, hackers, scammers, or our own bad habits online?
Own bad habits.
What's the one piece of personal information people give away too easily?
Blast for a social.
Ooh, yeah. On that note, we had to give that every day of our military careers. So
I have it tattooed on my ribs.
We're used to that. What's the biggest myth people believe about hackers?
They'll have hoodies that fit.
I was literally thinking in that in my mind, and
my
you
arms are
actually
too
said
long. I don't know why they're wearing mittens.
If you could make everyone do one cyber hygiene thing today, what would it be?
Password changes.
Using
a password manager, that or scrubbing their information off the internet, one of the two.
Okay. All right. Last question. If you could hack anyone or anything without any ramifications, who or what would it be?
Probably the library at the Vatican, or
Really?
JFK files or Epstein files or something. Like some secret conspiracy thing, but the Vatican is definitely like Da Vinci Code level stuff that nobody has access to unless you're the Pope.
Yeah, so
and I
it's
don't see becoming Pope anytime soon.
You want unobtainable information is what your hack would be.
Correct.
Is that accurate? Oh, that's cool. I can dig that.
Bryan, thank you for keeping us on our toes. We appreciate that. You have a very interesting story, and I think that it's really important that people understand that what you do helps people. There's not just always a dark side to hacking. So I thank you very much for coming on the show. We really enjoyed it.
And where can people find you online?
You can find me at bryanseely.com, LinkedIn, the site formerly known as Twitter. You search my name, it'll be easy to find it.
MySpace?
If that's still online, probably.
Various Google shops. Around.
Yeah, Google. Yeah,
No, I'll find you.
that's good. Well, thank you again so much. Thanks
My
for being
pleasure.
here.
Thanks, guys.
Be sure to like and subscribe and leave comments. We'd love to hear from you.
New episodes coming every week on LifeLock's YouTube channel.